Hello, hello. This is Michelle Chung with another episode of my podcast. And today we're going to be talking about meeting him at 49.51%, not at 50-50. You're going to love it and stay tuned. Hey, my name is Michelle Chung, and I'm a live manifestation expert, which means I help women manifest their soulmate live in person, offline. And I help career-driven A-type alpha women find their man so they can have the amazing, committed, and effortless relationship they deserve. So last night I caught up with my amazing friend, and she was glowing because she's actually 5 months pregnant. She's choosing to have a baby with a donor because she'd been trying to meet the right guy for years and years, even though she'd had a long-term relationship in the past. But it seemed like she wasn't meeting the right guys in the last few years, and she just turned 40 and she didn't want to miss her chance to be a mom. So she made the firm decision to have one on her own with IVF, and she was very courageous. I'm not sure if I would have been able to make the same decision if I hadn't met Raf. But once she decided, she felt at ease, at peace, and just went for it. So I was so impressed, and I just love that about her. She's just so strong and focused and determined. So it was beautiful. And the cool thing is that she's surrounded by amazing supporting friends and family. And she also has a network of other single older mums who've also had donors with IVF as well, and they've got little toddlers right now. So it was awesome to see her in really good hands, and she was learning a lot. Um, but yeah, so she was telling me last night at dinner that when she was 2 weeks pregnant, she'd met this amazing guy and that she was really attracted to him. And they had the same interests. And he also has a 6-year-old boy. And when she told him up front that she's actually pregnant, he was super excited for her and was like so happy for her because he also understood the joy of being a parent. And she was super excited because their attraction was mutual. So as it turns out, the relationship didn't really go as planned. As she wasn't even really attached to the relationship going forward, but she was very excited because there was a mutual attraction. There was a lot in common, a lot of common interests. But he said that he didn't want to be in a new relationship, even though he was very attracted to her, and really, enjoyed spending time with her, because he didn't want to lose focus on his own child with a new relationship, as he knew that women, we do need our own attention in a relationship. And so he was really concerned about losing focus and attention for his own child. And what I told her though was that and every time we have amazing conversations about relationships together, that each new relationship that she has, this new experience, she grows and she discovers something new about herself. So it's not about the relationship itself, whether it's successful or not, whether they get together or not, or whether they continue with the relationship. But every experience with someone is actually something to be discovered about yourself. What lessons are you learning about yourself? What are you learning that you like? What are you learning that you don't like? What are you learning and seeing any patterns that you are discovering about each relationship? Why is that one turning out like the one before? Why am I attracting the similar kind of guys? So it was really interesting hearing about this new relationship. And she also confessed that because she's a very strong, independent woman like I am, that's why we get along so well. She'd been a lot in her masculine energy, and she was so used to chasing, and that it's when she listened to my podcast, some of the earlier episodes, she realized also that that skill of chasing and being in your masculine energy of that assertiveness in your career will create success for you in your career, and that's often what is needed in to be successful in business and in the workplace as well. And then she'd been using that same energy, as my mentor John Maxwell says, any strength overused becomes a weakness. When you're using that same masculine energy in relationships as a woman, it tends to play out in a certain way, and I'm seeing this a lot with the women I'm working with. So I actually advised her to go 49-51 instead. So what exactly does that mean? Well, I guess you're familiar with the concept of 50-50, right? You want equality in the partnership with your partner. You want everything to be half half. So I actually have a new concept that I believe in now when it comes to dating and when it comes to meeting someone new these days in the modern age in 2023, not to go 50-50 instead. I think a lot of men are used to, having very this idea of equality with women and not being able to be the man or be chivalrous and be caring and nurturing, because a lot of women tend to get offended when a guy picks up the bill, invites you for a date, pulls out your chair. I don't even know if guys still do that because they're probably so afraid that women are going to bite their head off. And that idea of the 50-50, I don't think it's working because a lot of women are too much in their masculine and getting actually offended when a guy tries to do something nice and using that as an excuse for or reason that I'm not weak. Why are you doing that for me? Rather than coming from the mindset and perspective of this guy is into me. He wants to do something for me to show me his interest. And often guys are they're not as subtle creatures as we are. They need some very obvious signals. So for them, showing their interest is something like picking up the check, paying for the date, um, picking you up in his car or something like that for the date. So for them, they're very obvious signs of interest. But for women, when we refuse that kind of those gestures, it shows the guy, they get really confused. Actually, they're just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm trying to be nice. Why am I getting my head bitten off?" So this concept that I'm proposing of 49-51 is for women just to come to the table to a new prospect, a new partnership, with the idea of just coming to 49%, not coming in at 50%. I suppose when you're in a relationship, it can change and you can have more of a 50-50 balanced partnership. But when you're dating and you're meeting someone new, and I believe that you can try this and test out my theory as well. Go 49% instead of coming to the table 51%. Allow him to come the 1% into your boundaries. It's the same with male and female biology. Men have their sexual organs on the outside, women have their sexual organs on the inside. Why is that? Because the man has to come into the position of outward, external, masculine energy. That's all external, outside the body. And female biology is internal, the intuition, and feminine energy. This is internal or left side of the body. So I believe in following nature, and that's where actually science and technology gets a lot of advancements, is simply looking at nature. Nature has it kind of all worked out, and they've got all the answers. Everything works. And it's only us humans who are trying to, find something to model. And if we're modeling broken concepts that aren't working, and there are a lot of single people out there using this 50-50 concept, where women are much too in their masculine and much too forward and much too chasing in their energy. So why not look at nature, the male and female biology, and experiment with this and see what you get when you start working with this 49-51 concept. And I actually believe that this 50-50 concept anyway is outdated. There is no such thing as equality, only balance. Even the universal laws talk about balance, not equality. And equality is actually just subjective because it's always on a sliding scale between one polarity to the other polarity, that you never know where that 50-50 is anyway. There's only ever balance. And also, men want to be the pursuer and often lose interest. Just like you lose interest if a guy is way too much into you, it makes you feel like it freaks you out a little bit, like kind of like what's this guy doing? He must not have any other options. Like something must be wrong with him if he's like too desperate. It's the same feeling that guys get when we're chasing too much. They're probably thinking the same thing, like, oh my gosh, she must be desperate, like she's coming on too strong, like she mustn't have any other options. So it's the same kind of thing. It's this the classic theory that I'm reading this book, Letting Go: The Pathway of Surrender by Dr. David Hawkins. I love this book. I've been reading it, studying it. I have it on audio book. I have it on ebook. I have the paperback, and I've got notes and highlighters and red markers like everywhere in the book. But in the book he talks about the concept of the boy meets girl theory. It's like boy meets girl, boy wants girl, girl doesn't want boy, girl pulls back, and and then boy loses, girl lose interest. But when boy pulls back, girl starts to take interest, and then yeah, so it's like a delicate balance of like who is interested in when, at whom, and how much, you know. So it's really interesting. I'm sure you've experienced that in your own life when you've pulled back a little bit, you've let go of the attachment, you've released that expectation. Like imagine you're at work and or you're looking for a new project or a job or a client, and the more you want it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. But a lot of the time when we release that expectation to the wanting, we often get it. Like if we're in the right frequency and with the right vibrational energy, that's happy, at peace, joyful, warm. People want to be around that. Naturally, things will come to you. Another cool thing is when Matthew Hussey, I used to love him. I had a girlfriend back in the day when I was single. We used to get together and watch lots of Matthew Hussey videos. And he would always say, if you see your text messages, I think it's in the blue color or that is yours and the green color is his. If you see your text messages are bigger and taking up more of the screen and more frequently than his, then that's just proof. That's just evidence that you're giving too much. So you're more than 50%. So using that boy meets girl theory, why not step back a little bit and let him come to you 51%? You'll start to see a shift, I'm sure. So if he pull back that little bit more and allow him to come into your boundary by 1%. And then you have that empowerment, and he gets excited by the uncertainty of your position. It's what they always say, these these phrases of like uh the thrill of the chase, the uncertainty, puts you a little bit on edge. And it seems like very basic, boring almost concepts, but they're still so relevant today. So if he pulls back, then make sure that you're pulling back as well, and you're never overstepping to the 50% mark, that you're always 49%. And give him that space to come in at 1%. If he doesn't, then you have your answer. If he's either busy or whatever, he will make time to come back to you and not let you go. So know that if he really truly likes you and wants your company or attention, he's going to make sure he will that you will be there for him. Now, that's not the same as someone who could be narcissistic and keeps you hanging and keeps you wanting more. Then you've also got to look at yourself, why you're attracting these kind of guys, or why you're attracted to these kind of guys who play with you. So that's something different. So women naturally have, in our power, because our sexual organs are inside our bodies, we are meant to be receiving and to choose carefully who we allow into our world and into our hearts. So hopefully all this makes sense to you and resonates with you in some way. And I'd love to hear your feedback if you have any thoughts and ideas. Make sure to leave a comment and follow me on my Instagram. It's at Michelle Chung Coach. And I'd love to hear from you. So have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.